Aloha! How are we all doing today? I hope you're having many beautiful, amazing, mysterious adventures in this thing we call life. I wanted to talk a minute about how the people in our life, whether we call them twin flames, soulmate, etc., how they're a mirror for us. So oftentimes, and this is especially true in romantic relationships, and I've experienced this I don't know how many times, we are infatuated at the beginning and we're like, oh my God, you're amazing, look at you, and we have this wonderful exacerbating experience of the most epic kind, and then all of a sudden we start seeing things, you know what I mean? And we're like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not liking this. I'm not liking what I'm seeing. And one of the things we fail to realize is that what we're seeing is usually a reflection of ourselves. Because everyone, but especially a romantic partner that has a deep connection, like soulmate. I use that term loosely because a lot of people, that's the term that they're familiar with. I believe soulmate is yourself, and these soulmates that we think of as a soulmate are really life mates. And we have multiples of them, and I'll go into that later. But when we are presented with this beautiful being in front of us, and we're seeing things that we don't necessarily care for, what we need to understand is that this person is a mirror. They're holding up a mirror. And the deeper the connection, the deeper we will see the reflection of our shadows. So what does that mean? That means that if you're just friends with somebody, you're going to see your shadows at just a surface level or X level, depending on the level of friendship. If you have this deep soul connection with a romantic partner, you open yourself up more. And when you do that, that person is able to reflect deeper shadows that you carry inside you. So what can happen is that these soulmates, these twin flames, these life mates, as I call them, they will begin to reflect back deep shadows that we've buried somewhere. And then we sit there and we question, well, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. But is it really them that we're not liking what we're seeing? Or is it the reflection of our shadow that we have yet to enlighten? Now, of course, there is a balance to this. There are certain people who are just simply toxic, right? Narcissists, psychopaths, etc. So this requires some discernment. This requires sitting and meditating with what we're dealing with what's put in front of us, and why it's there. Is it really the person? Is it us? Because what will most likely happen if you sit down and your partner sits down, whether this be a friendship, a family member, or a romantic partnership, is if you sit down and you meditate separately and then you come together and you really talk out the nitty-gritty details, often you'll come up with the same root causes. Safety violations, misunderstandings of what unconditional love is, not clear boundaries, empathic communication, etc. There are core issues and core wounds that will come up, and you're both mirroring and reflecting those core wounds to each other. And generally speaking, it's the same core wound you're dealing with, but because our perceptions are so unique, we're reflecting them back in different ways to each other. So my experience with this is when I was a little girl, and I think I was about 4 when this started, is my ancestor, I don't know if she's a great-great-grandmother or a great-great-great-great-grandmother, on the Native American side of my family. So this is an older Native American wise woman that is my ancestor, and she would come to me in dreams, and I'm an oracle. So she would take me to the pool of fates, and we would sit there, and it's a very still pool, and she would hit it with her hand, and it would create a ripple, which would open a mirror of types, and you could see in it a person or an event. And she would show me sometimes a person's every life mate, or soulmate as is most commonly described, every person's life mate that they would have over the entirety of their life, or that would be gifted to them. And she explained that these life mates, there's not one of them, there's multiples. And on average, we're usually sent between 4 and, I don't want to put an exact number on it because it's different for every person, but an average is like 4 to 7 life mates. And each life mate is beautiful and has the potential to become an absolute life partnership. And what will happen is, because of the mirroring and the reflecting and the not sitting down and doing the shadow work, both separately and together, we end up thinking that this person isn't meant for us, when in fact we're seeing our own reflection and we're not dealing with it. And so what will happen is we will break up with that life partner, and then we will move on to the next life partner. And because we never dealt with the shadows in relationship, because these shadows are meant to be dealt with in relationship, and when we don't deal with them in the relationship and separately, then what will happen is that will keep going. That will keep going. And it will keep going. And we blame it on, well, we just haven't found our soulmate yet. It's not that we haven't found our soulmate yet. It's that we have not found the soulmate that we have chosen to do the hard work with. Because a perfect soulmate, or life partnership as I prefer to call it, is a perfect reflection of all of your shadows that you need to enlighten in order to become your best version of yourself. What that means is, when you meet a person who has what most people would describe a soulmate connection as, it's not going to be perfect. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows. It might at first. But more likely, you're going to see a lot of shadow work happening, because that person is there to bring you and enlighten you to your best self. So that's my thoughts on reflections of soulmates and twin flames, life partnerships, whatever you personally use as your connotation for that. And I just wanted to share that. And I love you all, and I hope that you and whoever you've chosen as your life partner can sit down and truly enlighten each other. Many blessings.